if we get to January, it's 19 years doing Fast Money. Hopefully some of you have seen the show. And obviously the last 6 months specifically, there's not a segment or block in the show that goes by where we don't talk about AI and the impact. So we're going to start sort of with that, the importance of it. And I'm going to start with Andreas because this is sort of your rodeo. But what does it truly mean to be AI in the financial service? A lot of people talk the game, but what does it truly mean to you?
Yeah, so for me is when you really use AI like across the whole company. So in your back office, middle office, front office. And then what you do is you actually not only talk to the AI, so you gain real advantage from the AI and you get the insights from your data, which you would never be able to get out otherwise.
And Serene, you're at Paribas. I actually was at a conference there a few months ago. There were amazing speakers. A beautiful one-day event down at Cipriani, down in the Wall Street area. And this came up. So same question to you. In our world, in the financial services industry, what do you think it means to sort of be immersed in this sector?
In my opinion, I definitely concur with you in terms of productivity and providing everyone like access to AI, but I think it's more serving the client, getting insight. How can we like better have like conversation and engage with clients, leveraging like all the data that we have, and the other part is how can we increase productivity internally to avoid doing things that we don't enjoy doing, and scale up like the platform. Everyone is growing, so how can we leverage AI to grow faster?
I was at the FactSet Focus Conference about a year or so, a little over a year ago, and you guys rolled out your AI initiative. It was a great conference, and it was really exciting things that you're doing in FactSet. So you can speak specifically about FactSet. You want to broaden it out, but again, AI in the financial services industry.
Yeah, thanks, Guy. Thanks for having us, Unique. I would say it's both of what they said. I mean, we're thinking about FactSet as an AI-based company. More than half of our employees are in the business of really collecting the massive content that we have. So there's an opportunity for us to totally rethink inside the house how we use AI, and we're using it across the board for productivity. But our main focus really has been in the product and with our clients, and that's both in our workstation, which many people know, like the terminal workstation-based business, several 100,000 users of that, and how to really transform that, but also for all the builder clients and partnerships and things like Unique. So I think across different workflows, we'll see it evolve. It's early days, a lot of hype still, lots of talk about agents, some productivity, but it's going to only continue. So I think it's going to be transformation.
And I'll say, FactSet seems to be sort of right on the cutting edge. At least that was my interpretation. We're at the conference, and then the follow-up has been great. And Alexander, I looked at what was going on at Capstone, and again, you seem to be sort of at the precipice of all this as well. You're leading that initiative. So just speak to sort of what your thoughts are about it.
Yeah. So on the hedge fund side, the way I would explain it is like this. Like, I think of AI as a force multiplier, right? Let's say you have an analyst or a researcher that can evaluate, let's say, one trade hypothesis or idea per day, right? Let's say the performance of that portfolio manager stays constant. Now, the Sharpe ratio of that portfolio should scale with the square root of the number of opportunities that they can evaluate. So if you accelerate the time or decrease the time that it takes for that researcher to churn through hypotheses and come up with tradable ideas, you should be more profitable, all else being equal. So we see it as a force multiplier, and not a replacement for the analyst, but a tool that makes them 10x more productive.
A lot of conversations, I'm sure, are going on right now in terms of build versus buy, Andreas. Yeah. What's the better path? What's the easier path, most cost-effective path? Obviously, you have very strong thoughts about this because you're building something, but a lot of people are sort of navigating that build versus buy.
Yeah, exactly. So I've seen now a lot of companies doing exactly this decision, right? And what I see is, actually, I don't see it as a buy or build, right? So it's not a 0-1 thing. It's really a spectrum that you need to find for yourself. What I see is, though, like, we build a lot of things where we have to investigate. We have to investigate RAG. You hear all these things about deep research, code execution, MCP, all of these things. Do you have the capacity to know all of these things in depth? And I say, don't waste your time there. Where you need to invest your time, and that's very important. Invest your time on your data. Get this data out. Invest your time in your workflows. You've seen our workflows here, right? So Dana, you showed it really nicely. And what I say is take these workflows, make them serve you, adopt them. And this is how we see it, right? We give out all of that code to our clients that they can build on top of what we've already researched, built, looked at. So that's sort of our take on this. So really build yourself, but build the right thing.
Alexander, I'm sure at Capstone you're having those conversations. You've obviously made the decision to sort of do it on your own, but there can be tuck-ins along the way. So how do you sort of walk, you're on that track right now, and then every once in a while something might make an appearance where that might be an interesting tuck-in. Like how do you navigate the build versus buy?
Yeah, I would say we take a hybrid approach. We very much focus on, if we're going to build something, it's going to be in the area where we're domain experts of that subject. So let's say whether it's some volatility market or something like that, that's very much ripe for building capability in-house. But oftentimes the infrastructure on which these capabilities will sit, let's say whether it's AI related or otherwise, a lot of that has already been built and crucially battle tested. So I think those are much more ripe towards partnerships with other vendors or buying it.
Serene, Paribas, everybody in this room knows, but if you walked into Times Square, a lot of people wouldn't realize the importance of Paribas in Europe and the size of the bank. And again, you're trying to figure this out along the way, building something internally, but always eyes open for what's out there. So, same type of question, that whole build versus buy thing that I think everybody's, I don't want to say struggling with, but everybody's trying to navigate.
Yeah. I think as a financial institution, we have like a lot of regulation and data sensitivity in terms of I think everyone tries to protect their data and their insights. So finding the balance is first having a better understanding of what are the use cases that we're able to deploy internally. So start with that, build up some of the skill set internally so we can manage also some of the vendors. In terms of the providers that we already have in-house, try to have a better understanding of their roadmap. So if instead than deploying similar use cases internal in-house or developing in-house use cases, try to have a better understanding of their roadmap. And then I think now we're more open to have a better engagement with some of the vendor partnership with some of the people that have way more expertise in some specific area. So it's a partnership, and then finding the right balance is still I think in discussion in terms of the spectrum that you were mentioning also.
As I mentioned, the FactSet conference that we did, and Phil Snow, the CEO, just stepped down a couple months or so ago. 30-year career at FactSet, started basically, in the mailroom type of thing, but that's somewhat accurate, and he worked his way up. But he obviously had a vision for sales. Phil's here, I apologize, but close enough. But the point is, he had a vision for AI, and he had the people internally to sort of make it happen. So you've obviously made a very conscious decision to build this.
Yes, and for sure, when we started out, we built a lot of it and really had, I think, most easy success with bespoke solutions. If you focus AI very discreetly on a use case, I think portfolio commentary, Chris Ellis was presenting at the conference you were at, different discrete use cases. When you start to go bigger, right, you really need to think about partners. So we started to expand our partners more on the infrastructure layer, not just the traditional cloud providers, but folks like Databricks, Snowflake moving up the stack. And I think now, increasingly, sort of as Andreas said, there are certain people who at different layers of the stack have solved things, so it may not be in our interest to solve those. And I think that's what every firm sort of has to decide. Where's your competitive advantage? Where's your data moat? Where are you really going to put your resources, and pick those partners really wisely? They got to be real partners, not just vendors.
There's a term that's come up, Serene, operational resilience, trust, the importance of AI, but making sure it works correctly. You know, we hear the term hallucinations in this world. So speak to the importance of exactly that, the operational resilience and the trust then that's bestowed upon you. But that trust is it can be very tenuous.
I think we're still early stage of like the potential of real AI and agentic AI. So we're definitely like internally having different models and testing out few models in terms of where we have like hallucination. How can we like regulate like the hallucinations in terms of the sensitivity of the model? But where it was interesting is like around like the governance that we put in place to ensure that one, like from a risk compliance, data like readiness and ITO, like they're all part of like the same governance, and they're all informed whenever we're raising a use case. So we have like an end-to-end process in terms of once you're like someone has an idea, they raise it like as part of like the form that where they're describing their use cases. That at the same time it's assessing the risk associated with that use case. And depending on the risk, it notify if it's low risk, it notifies automatically the different stakeholders. So it's a whole ecosystem that we try to build out around that. And as part of it, if like we have like a weekly prioritization, so it's all about prioritization of some of the use cases, where they're try to figure out if like the added value of it, like the complexity of it, the risk associated with it, and the tokenization. Like each use case has like a token that will help deploy, like track and stress out, like from a testing perspective, also monitor the usage and yeah.
Andreas, when you're BNB Paribas, the market's going to give you the benefit of the doubt to a large extent. They're going to give you a lot of rope. When you're a startup, it's that Led Zeppelin song, No Quarter. And so this becomes a much more interesting topic, I would imagine, for what goes on internally at Unique. So speak to it. This must be on, I would imagine this is sort of the top of the list.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, regulation, this is our game because we come, you hear it from my accent, we come from Switzerland and the regulation is so strong there. So we see exactly this. But I have to say, I mean, people are here much more liberal with their data, but in the end, I mean, even if you don't roll out any AI in your company, people will use it on their phones, they will use it on their side computer, and they just use it in their daily works anyway. You just need to make sure that your data and your information that you don't want to leak is not leaked. So better provide it from yourself, that you have more control. So I really like how you go about it, right? So I think that's a very important thing. And also, you need to train the people. People need to understand. If you type something to ChatGPT, where it goes and what it means. Can I do this? Should I do it? It's very important.
Alexander, so trust is everything in our industry. You know, Capstone, I'm sure a lot of the clients you serve, you know, where are you on the AI initiative? I'm sure you're having those conversations. And again, it comes down to scalability, trust, operational resilience. I'm sure internally you're talking about those things. How do you deal with it at your shop?
So I would say one really crucial part of the AI journey that maybe doesn't catch as many of the headlines, right? It's not the flashy, like sexy part, but it's the visibility permissioning to various data sets and how you expose that to various AI tools. So we're transitioning from a paradigm where there's all these like siloed capabilities and each one has their own login. There's some permissioning thing that runs all these tools. But now when you're trying to expose that to some centralized AI agent, the way that the permissions that each person is allowed to see carry over to this AI tool is hugely important, and that's probably as big of a challenge for I think a lot of companies in this room as some of the more visually obvious aspects of bringing in AI.
I've been using street accounts. I'm sure a lot of people in this room have since, I don't want to say 2001, 02 type of thing. and the reliance I put upon street accounts and through FactSet is to this day is very important. AI changes the narrative a little bit in terms of you got to be careful what's out there.
Yeah, no, trust is everything in this industry, and certainly for us. So I think 3 or 4 things, agree with everything the panelists have said. Transparency. So whether it's Guy or anyone who's using where you are in the FactSet system, if it's AI enabled, it'll tell you that. 2, the lineage source linking. You could show a number. Where'd that number come from? Where's the source document? How's it calculated? People want to, test but verify, or whatever exactly Reagan said. That holds true in finance with the data. And 3, I think it is the governance and the committees. So we have risk committees. Street account, we still have human in the loop, right? And so to go from 75, 85 to try and get like 97%, 99% accuracy, that's where, as great as the demos are, that's the really hard part, getting from there to the end game. And that requires people. So bullish on people.
I'm going to stay with you in terms of the ecosystem, the reliance upon vendors. I mean, speak to that, the data ecosystem and all the things that, again, it brings a whole new world to what you have to be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this stuff for 30 years in different forms in banking and so forth. I mean, it's obviously one of the most exciting times to really transform. Most of the career when I was in investment banking, it was always on the structured data. Yes, there are a lot of reports and so forth, but everything we do in finance, on the risk side, it's always been structured data. And the table's totally turned in terms of unstructured, right? So I think about the world in terms of structured, unstructured, and of course, as Unique was talking about today, how you bring that together for specific workflows and solutions. And then it used to be with data in terms of coverage, is it quality, et cetera. So now to make it AI ready, what does that mean? You got to vectorize the data. You have to have metadata, so you have data about the data. All of these things to allow, like what they call the semantic layer, the knowledge graph, to connect different nodes and really provide those better answers. So what you have to do to the data, super important, and then connecting across multiple data sources.
Serene, how does Paribas deal with sort of the vendor ecosystem? Because again, the size of the bank and the importance of AI and everything you're trying to sort of implement. Speak to that.
Clearly, we didn't know about like wealth management one, so no. Joke aside, I think having access to data is still like a challenge. And I think now with MCP framework, the connectivity is going to be like easier, so it's going to enhance some of the use cases that we have in place. Also, some of the banks decided initially to go in premises to like try to protect their data also. So now it's evolving to connectivity through the web and making sure, I think, like trusting not to have like fake data or wrong data. I think it's going to be like the new topic now that it's connectivity. So we were discussing with Michelle earlier this morning in terms of having like a validator agent or like audit agent, or how can we create like a database that will help ensure that the data that we're extracting is actually accurate. We can rely on it to extract like KPIs and a few other key information that will help decision making. So I think this is an ongoing discussion, and we're gonna like see more as we're discovering more about agentic AI and the other frameworks.
From reactive, everybody's reactive. How do you go from agentic AI from the reactive phase to the proactive phase, and how are you dealing with that, Andreas?
Yeah, I think we already hear it in the word agentic, right? It means to have agency, and to have agency means you need to be able to make decisions about, and you said it before, right? Something that reflects on what has been produced. Tool use, you also mentioned when you have MCP, there's a lot of tools bringing data in and so on. And I always see it as like, hey, I send out my agent, my little agent, go there and go grab me all the data, put everything together, but then come back to me to ask me for the human in the loop, right? We also had it. Hey, is this what I can, like, is this correct? Is this how you would like to have it? Because these agents, they don't think like we do, right? They are still very much different, but we need to check what they've produced. But it's great because it gives me a lot of time back when I can just have all of that drudgery work done automatically.
You said something that I just want to pick up on. I think one of the analogies that resonates most with me is the self-driving cars, right? I would have thought 5 years ago, the taxis, the Ubers were gone. We would have had like San Francisco, self-driving cars. But it's, as great as the tech is, right? It's got to be accurate, right? You can't roll over a grandmother or something, right? And the same thing in finance. So it's very similar. I don't think we're going to have millions and millions of autonomous agents all throughout the finance, the trading stack. Is still going to be, come back to me, have the human verify.
Some grandmother should be run over. That's a different show. So, at Capstone, you think about it, I mean, the proactive part is where things get really interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. And this all goes back to the early point I made about the force multiplier, right? If you see a task that a person does, and I'll give you like a real life example. Had a PM reach out to me for a tool that we built for him that essentially, it takes some of their unstructured research that they get and just makes it into a nice summary. So, my analyst called me and they said, I would spend 10 hours every Sunday summarizing this bad word here. And now I hit a button and it does that for me. So now I can spend my time doing other things. And that's a huge benefit to them. Like it saves real time. And I would say that was like a very rewarding experience to hear that. Like it's not just helping take away work that nobody wants to do, but actually it's helping people get their time back.
I'll set this up with a little anecdote. So we do a fast money call at 12:30 each day. I have the phone number memorized. I have the passcode memorized. Not that anybody cares, but 486-5722. 201-492-5039 is the phone number. It was until today because CNB is now part of Versant. And they changed the entire system. So I spent 10 minutes today eviscerating a few people with words that I will not use here because of change. So Serene, how do you deal? There are a lot of 61-year-old dinosaurs like me that are resistant to change. How do you deal with that?
No, I think this is a great question in terms of change management. How are we adopting? How are we enabling our employee in terms of skill set, but also in terms of trusting the tool and be able to do it? I would say baby steps. So you start where there is maybe less risk for you, so you can build the trust slowly and surely. I had the head of sales on my side, and she saw how I was actually using it on a daily basis. I don't write emails anymore. I just put few notes and I ask him to write emails for me. Whenever there's talking point, presentation, or a few other things, it's small baby steps for her, but it's life-changing because she's in back-to-back meetings. So it can start this way. We also put in place early on when ChatGPT, 2 months after, we put a hackathon. People that are either in the promotion side or interested in this topic were part of it. We diversified the skill, the type of people, so they can partner with data scientists, understand the capability of the tool, what could be a good use case, what could be a bad use case, and get a sense. And those are super, it was a Shark Tank pitch at the end. So the winners will be the solution is going to be a POC, so they can test out, see what's the added value of it, but also the scalability of the solution. And then lately we also put AI champions. So their roles are to identify use cases, promote use cases, build library of prompts. So instead of asking someone to know how to prompt, they can also recycle some of the use cases. So for you, instead of trying to figure out how you're going to communicate with it, you can just go to the library, leverage it, adjust it to whatever you want, and play with it and see the added value.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, but it's all good. So
use it as a therapist.
So Alexander, I'm sure there are people, because I'm one of those people that fear that this is you're gonna lose your job because of what's coming. So I'm sure internally at Capstone, you're dealing with a lot of people that are scared of what does it mean for my job? How am I going to move forward with this? So speak to, like, as a culture, you have to sort of guide people through this.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a concern a lot of people have. I would say our people are busier than ever when it comes to the amount of work that they have in front of them. It's just that that's not because AI is taking away work that they want to do, rather that they're able to focus on more tasks at hand at the same time, because AI is taking away some of that sort of more mundane, less creative type of work.
Andreas, obviously, what you're building, everybody's on the same page. But what you learn in life is that your urgency is not somebody else's urgency. So understanding the culture you're building, how do you make it urgent for people that you're courting right now?
Yeah, it's a bit, I feel like everyone feels like left behind all the time. Like, we haven't rolled out all these agents yet. You see demos and you're like, we're way behind. But what I can see like out there is like, people are not that far yet into the journey. People are still learning, right? So I feel like getting away from that like FOMO moment into the let's get something really built, not just POCs, but really something like put the foot down on the gas and go with 1 or 2 use cases. That's usually the way in. And I feel like then people lose being afraid of how to scale it inside of the company. And what they can do with that is basically we see adoption rates of 80% of the tool within like full companies, full banks, which is within months. And that's crazy how fast that goes. So people really start to leverage it in their daily work really fast.
I'm going to leave some time for questions if anybody has any, but I'm going to do some closing thoughts here. Serena, I'll start with you. 3 years is a long time. I mean, 3 weeks in this world is a long time, but what are some predictions, if any, in terms of what you're seeing now, where you think the world is going through this lens?
I think I think in 3 years we'll definitely have like more agentic AI, so we'll be more collaborative with that. But the key thing is, what are the key roles that will be created, how the workforce will evolve. So I think in the next 3 years, we're going to see also a shift in terms of like the organization setup and how management is thinking about hiring. So that's going to be like an interesting journey also on that end.
Alexander?
I would say the companies are going to be successful in this are ones that iterate quickly, experiment, go for small wins, and as opposed to trying to boil the ocean. Space is moving so fast, and as important as it is to build something or some process, equally important is the learning opportunity that each person involved gets, because as in 6 months technology will be better, but that sort of internal culture that you're building around quick experimentation and learning how to use these new tools, that carries over, even though the tools might change very quickly.
New leadership at FactSet, new vision, but same vision. Again, same thing to you, Alex.
Yeah, and I think, ChatGPT came out probably 3 years ago. And if I would have said back then, with all the hype, even though we made a ton of progress, I would have in some ways thought there would have been more. I double down on the bet and say 3 years from now, more winners and losers, more transformational change will happen at different elements of the stack across financial services. For us at FactSet, as one of the pure play data workflow kind of companies, AI isn't a choice. Like, it's definitely part of our future. We're going to continue to leave and dive in, and I think the market prognosticators will be pretty impressed with our new CEO. So I'm pretty bullish, more so than others on.
Well, you're talking about the stock price. I know what you're talking about. If you pull out your Google machine and look what FactSet the stock has done over the last few months, that's what you're referring to. I get it, and I agree with you. The new CEO is really cool. I think he came from JP Morgan. He's into a lot of really cool things.
Yeah, but AI is a big part of our future, and probably all of your firms.
Andreas, I started with you. I'll end with you. And again, any questions, we'll go to that, but please.
Yeah, for me, I think you're all right. What I also see at the moment, and this speaks a bit to what you said before, is that I think the race for the better models sort of starts to slow down. The models, they're really good. They're really good. But now we need to build, and this is what we do with our clients mostly, is now it's time for really applications. So better pick 2 or 3 things that you really want to double down on and build. And in 3 years, I don't want to see 20 POCs in the companies I work with. I want to see like real use cases brought to life with real people that can use it in everyday tasks, and it makes them faster, and it makes what you said to the 10x company, makes them a fixed 50x company, right? That's the goal. And for this, you need to enable the people internally. You said it. Educate them is one thing, but also you have like your citizen developers, your quants, the people that can script, enable them to really use it in their day-to-day life, because they can make amazing things from their little scripts, what they do every day.